So, welcome to Let's Be Social. Today, we're going to be covering from love bombing to gaslighting, the silent weapons of narcissistic abuse. So, welcome back. I'm B. I'm your podcast host. I'm starting to do something a little different in 2026. I'm trying the live stream podcasting. I'm going to do a variety of different topics in 2026. If you want to be a podcast guest, you can email me. And if you know a topic that you want to hear about, give me a shout out and or in the chat. I'm happy to take ideas for 2026. I'm doing a narcissistic abuse series, and this is the second portion of the one that we did previously. So we're going to talk about exploring a pattern that traps many people in toxic relationships, moving from love bombing into gaslighting, the formation of trauma bonds, and the use of what I call the silent weapons of narcissistic abuse. If you've ever felt swept off your feet by someone who seems perfect, only later to feel confused, doubted, or trapped, this episode is for you. We're going to break it down and hopefully help you recognize the signs and give you some strategies to reclaim yourself. Okay, so we're going to go over the love bombing phase. It was something that we mentioned in the last podcast. The love bombing phase, every narcissistic relationship starts with love bombing. This is when the person is intensely charming, affectionate, and attentive, and everything seems oh so perfect. They might shower you with gifts, texts, lots of compliments, move the relationship very quickly, talking about a future, getting married really fast, or soulmate moments, make you feel like you've been seen for the first time in your life. It's completely amazing and exhilarating, and your brain experiences this rush of dopamine and this excitement, and you feel like you've found the one. But love bombing is often a mask to gain trust and attachment. Once you're hooked, the second phase begins, which is gaslighting and emotional manipulation. After the initial charm fades, narcissists start undermining your reality. You might hear things like, I never said that. Oh, you're overreacting. Or you're imagining things. This subtle manipulation makes you question your memory, your feelings, and even your sanity. Gaslighting quietly erodes your self-trust. You begin to question everything. You may feel confused or anxious, that feeling of walking on eggshells, constantly apologizing for things that you didn't even do, and like you're losing touch with your own reality. This is a stage where a trauma bond often forms. It's the push-pull of charm and devaluation that keeps you emotionally hooked. The trauma bonds are actual emotional attachments formed through this cycle of abuse and then this intermittent reinforcement. So it's sort of like, I attribute it to a Jekyll Hyde personality, nice in one moment and then not nice in the next. And they're apologetic. They might give you flowers, say they'll never do it again, whether it's an insult, whether it's just telling you you're overreacting. It could be very subtle. And you're like, oh, it's okay. You justify it in your own mind. And these attachments, they're not healthy. So you ask, why do they happen? First of all, Your brain craves that connection, even if it's harmful for you. It's highs of affection and lows of criticism that create this addictive emotional pattern. And it makes you feel like you can't live without that person. And then you always wonder why people in abusive relationships can't leave their abuser. It's because they've formed this trauma bond and it's really hard to leave. People don't understand it unless you're in it. Signs of trauma bond, again, feeling unable to leave, even though you know in your head that it's not good for you. You know it. Making excuses for their behavior. Like I said before, this happens all the time. The intense feelings of emotions of the highs, they're really high, and the lows can be really low. Prioritizing their needs over your own safety or well-being. Trauma bonds are not a sign of weakness. They are a natural human response to manipulation. And it's good to understand what is happening, whether you know somebody that's in a narcissistic abusive relationship, whether you've been in one yourself, or whether you're currently going through that. So we're going to move forward and talk about the silent weapons of narcissistic abuse. They're subtle, often invisible tactics that control and manipulate without overt aggression. So we spoke about gaslighting, quietly making you doubt your reality and your own memory. Withholding is a big one, or the other word is called stonewalling, the silent treatment or ignoring you, creating this anxiety and this sense that you need to chase them. And this devaluation period where there's these small criticisms, backhanded compliments, or just simply undermining your confidence. Projection, accusing you of what they're actually doing. As I mentioned before, someone I know was accused of lying in a situationship, not even a situationship. I think it was just literally a friendship. And then this person also continued to argue when my friend said she wasn't lying about anything. And this person continued to be accusatory and argumentative about it. So it's just doing all of these things. So oftentimes they're actually doing what they're accusing you of. So whether it's cheating, whether it's lying, it's usually them projecting what they're doing. Triangulation, involving a third person to create jealousy or competition. And then there's blame shifting, making you feel responsible for their actions. So in that example that I just told you, where my friend is friends with a man and he accused her of lying over a conversation they had, he basically said, okay, I'll apologize, but you need to be more clear next time. So still apologizing, but then making her feel like she still did something wrong when she didn't. So that's blame shifting. Love bombing withdrawal. This happens all the time. You're in that love bombing phase, and then slowly, over time, they withdraw their affection to punish or control you. And then you're left feeling like, what happened? Why? What's changed in the relationship? What have I done to make this person withdraw their affection? And it goes back to that gaslighting and making you doubt yourself, making you confused, making you question your own actions when you haven't done anything wrong to begin with. So these silent weapons are effective because they operate subtly. A lot of the time, you don't even realize it's happening to you in real time. It leaves you confused and emotionally dependent, and you don't even realize it. So how to recognize them, how to recognize the silent weapons. It leaves you feeling constantly anxious and self-doubting, emotional exhaustion without clear confrontation. Your confidence and your self-esteem steadily erodes. You're wondering what's happening. And slowly over time, isolation and over-reliance on the narcissist for your own validation. So let's go into a real life story. A listener, will change her name, we'll call her Emily, met someone who seemed so perfect. He was texting, he praised her, he was taking her out, he was meeting every single need that she had. But the relationship was moving very quickly. She had been in previous abusive relationships, and so when she finally got into this relationship, she felt like it was amazing. And she said to others, she was like, I can't believe that this is how it feels to be in love. I can't believe this is how it feels to be in a truly loving relationship. But unfortunately, she was in the love bombing phase of a narcissistic relationship. Over the time, at probably 6 months or so, he criticized her choices, denied things he said, twisted her reality, and Emily started doubting herself. She was feeling anxious all the time. She was constantly apologizing for things that she didn't even do. And gaslighting was in full force. Even more subtly, he started with withholding his affection and made subtle jabs and implied other people were interested in him at the gym. And she felt trapped, even though she logically knew she deserved better. That's a trauma bond reinforced by silent weapons. So, what can you do about it? What are some steps that you can take to break free? Number one is recognizing the pattern, recognizing, journaling your experiences to help validate your reality. Sometimes just going back and reading things, reading what's going on, is helpful because sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees when you're deep in it. Setting boundaries. Decide what you will not tolerate. Practice saying, that is not okay. Seek support from your friends, family, a therapist that can help you maintain clarity. Talk it out with others. Rebuild your self-trust. Reconnect with hobbies, passions, personal values. Affirm, my emotions are valid. Safety planning. If the relationship is abusive, create a plan to protect yourself physically and emotionally. And remember that healing is not linear. Small steps matter. Awareness is your first tool in reclaiming your freedom. If this episode resonated, please know that you're not alone. And this is not your fault. Love bombing, gaslighting, trauma bonds, and silent weapons are manipulative tactics. But recognition is your power. You can empower yourself today. Start journaling. You can start today. One journal entry. Set one boundary for yourself. Talk to a trusted person in your circle. Each action strengthens your independence and your emotional freedom. Thanks for listening to Let's Be Social. Need it. Join us next time as we continue exploring ways to reclaim your emotional life from toxic relationships. Thanks for joining. This is B signing off.